Good evening. So I wonder if the same kind of thoughts were running through your mind when you read the title of the show as what were running through my mind when I read the headline for the article. I was like, okay. We have to worry about insane gun laws coming down the pike. We have to worry about Russia and Ukraine. We have to worry about China and Taiwan, Iran and Israel. It's a plethora of things. And now we have the Mexican president threatening to destroy the Statue of Liberty. And I thought, oh, hell no. What did we do to piss in his Cheerios? And so anyway, you might you might find yourself at least in some kind of not necessarily agreement with him, but understanding of his stance. Because at first, when I saw the headline, I was like, man. And no, he's actually he actually makes a good point. So let me pop on over. Where'd I hide that? Here it is. Let me go ahead and pop on over and show you what's going on. Not going to sit here and keep you guessing. Mexican president vows to tear down the Statue of Liberty. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador says the symbol of America's freedom could lose its meaning if Washington refuses to drop charges against WikiLeaks co-founder Julian Assange, who faces the prospect of 175 years in prison. So this is over Julian Assange. That was, I was like, oof, wow. Anyway, it goes on to say, if they take him to the United States and he is sentenced to the maximum penalty and to die in prison, we must start a campaign to tear down the Statue of Liberty, López Obrador said at a news conference on Monday. For Washington to convict Assange would confirm that the world-famous monument in the New York harbor is no longer a symbol of freedom, he continued. He makes one hell of a point. His statements came in the wake of criticism published over the weekend by the Washington Post and NGO Reporters Without Borders excoriating the Mexican president or government for its supposed failure to protect journalists. I don't know if I said that word right. The Reporters Advocacy Group has called on the Mexican government to overhaul mechanisms for protecting media personnel, insisting the majority of the 12 journalists who have been killed so far this year in Mexico were murdered because of their work. However, the president, who is widely known by his initials AMLO, dismissed the report as a smear campaign against the government of Mexico. The Mexican leader skewered that what he framed as hypocrisy by the media organizations that eagerly published information on U.S. war crimes in Afghanistan and Iraq obtained and released by WikiLeaks before turning against the organization's founder. When this information was released, various media participated in its publication. They agreed to release all the information because they considered that it was a contribution to the defense of human rights, to freedom of expression, not to continue with the double talk, with the lies, with saying one thing and doing another, he said. Again, he's absolutely correct. López Obrador had told reporters last month that he would broach the subject of dropping the charges against Assange during his next meeting with U.S. President Joe Biden. He was invited to speak with the U.S. president after he declined an invitation to Biden's Summit of the Americas, refusing to attend the protest to the event's exclusion of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel, and Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega. So anyway, that's what that is all over. Again, he's not really making, it was more or less, he was saying it, figuratively. Nonetheless, he brings up a good point, and I'm actually glad that he did that, because, hey, I probably wouldn't have noticed a news headline. I mean, I guess he did what he did to get noticed. And, look, I can't defend what goes on down there in Mexico, because I know it's just as nuts and insane as what goes on here. I can't tell you that it's any worse. I can't tell you that it's any better. But nonetheless, he's got a point. He's got a point. Just as our government has a point, and they need to stop letting reporters get whacked because they get too close to operations, if you will. So anywho, we go ahead and kick back on over. I just thought that was absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So last night, apparently, changing gears, subjects here. Hang on. Coffee's hot. Apparently there was another incident, another shooting. Thankfully, this one wasn't like the earlier one. So anyway, apparently 2 officers were shot, and I'll read you that article here in a bit, but not good. Not good. There was a lot of violence over the weekend. I know Chicago reported crazy numbers. St. Louis reported crazy numbers. A lot of violence over the weekend. Trying to think of the other stuff that kind of stuck out at me. Was there anything else I was intending to mention? I don't think there was anything. Sometimes throughout the day there's little post-it notes I stick in my mind, but I have to dig for them, right? They're like the junk drawer in the kitchen. So anyway, I don't think there was anything that really stood out other than the story with the Mexican president, obviously, and then just the typical stuff. Still, I did a lot of thinking, as I always do after some huge event like what happened in Highland Park, Illinois. And, I sat there and I just mull it. I mull it and mull it and mull it. No, I don't have a mullet. Used to, but haven't for years. And I just, I do what I can to find as many angles, to come up with as many theories. And I just sat there and I play devil's advocate with myself, back and forth, and see if I can figure stuff out. Not only that, but there's a lot of pattern recognition that goes on. There's a level of education that goes on behind it, knowing psychology, human behavioral psychology, and stuff like that. So it's not just, I'm just coming out of my butt. And I'll tell you what, I don't, this is messed up, and I just can't understand how these individuals go under the radar like this. Now, if I saw somebody that was continually, not just like once, but continually showing expressions of graphic violence, right? We're supposed to be on edge because of school shootings, am I right? We're supposed to be on edge because of the school shootings. Okay, so we're on edge because of the school shootings. Then shouldn't we take anything into consideration that we could deem possibly indicating a school shooting, like a music video of him in a school indicating a school shooting? I mean, who'd have thunk it? So he may have had a plan to attack the school. I have no idea. I mean, maybe at a prior time. Who knows? Maybe he had plans to do that. Maybe the COVID pandemic, maybe that stopped him from doing that because they weren't in school. I don't know. I can't answer these questions. I'm just throwing this stuff out there. So, nonetheless, he chose a 4th of July parade, Independence Day parade, to rain down horror. I find it very interesting, at least to the last I checked, and I did check earlier, they still, to my knowledge, have not released what weapon it was, what caliber weapon. That all they still say is a high-power rifle, similar to an AR-15. They won't go any further than that. I don't understand why at this point they haven't gone further than that. That can't possibly, at this point, jeopardize the investigation releasing that information. I can't see how it could. So, I find it very interesting. Find it very, very interesting. Now, I don't know. As I've said many times, a lot of times we have to wait a little bit for more and more details to come out. We have to do our best to discern that, because we never know when we're being told the truth or not. And kind of go from there. So I don't know where this is going to lead. I can tell you this. You can damn well better bet they're going to be trying to put more and more gun laws into place with the quickness. And I am pretty certain they're going to be successful. I am pretty certain they're going to be successful. I think they're going to have enough support from enough Republicans that they're going to be able to push it through. And I'm talking some serious legislation. Not that they haven't already. I think that was just a start. So we'll see. That's all we can do. Kick back and see. I do have several tabs up here. So, let me get another sip of coffee, maybe a couple of vapes, and we'll get on to it and discuss what I have up here. Check reply I had to a message. I was trying to help somebody in Prepper Nation's Facebook page. So somebody was asking about what panels that I had, what rigid panels. Anywho, Gosh, I love coffee. Alright. Bring you on over to the web view here. Make my e-cig pop the hell out of me a couple of times. Alrighty, as you see, shooting erupts during July 4 fireworks. This was, later on. As it says, the Philadelphia authorities are investigating a security incident that left 2 police officers injured by gunfire and caused panic among thousands of people attending Independence Day celebrations on Monday night. The incident occurred around 10 p.m. near the Philadelphia Museum of Art as crowds of people watched fireworks following a concert on the final day of the Wah Wah Welcome America Festival. Footage circulating online shows panicked revelers running away for cover, but it was not immediately clear if anyone was injured amid the chaos. The authorities confirmed that a highway patrol officer suffered a graze wound to the head, while a member of the bomb squad was shot in the shoulder. Both were rushed to a hospital in stable condition, according to local media. While police urged the public to avoid the area, there was no immediate information regarding suspects. Sorry. Let's see. And the circumstances of the shooting. Hang on. Try to grab a drink. Alright, additional police were deployed to secure and evacuate the area while authorities established a center for those who may have been separated. The incident follows a mass shooting in Highland Park, Illinois. I'm not going to repeat all that stuff, so... anyway, that's all they've got here on that particular shooting. I haven't really dug into that. I don't know if that was necessarily intended to be anything mass or anything. That might have just been something in between people. Let's see. The going back to the shooting in Highland Park, that ate-up individual apparently dressed in women's clothing. Says here the 21-year-old man who opened fire on a 4th of July parade in Highland Park, Illinois, killing 7 and injuring 30 more, managed to escape by disguising himself in women's clothing, police have revealed. Suspect Robert Bobby Cremo was dressed in women's clothing, and investigators do believe he did this to conceal his facial tattoos and his identity, Lake County Major Crime Task Force spokesman Christopher Covelli told reporters on Tuesday. Now, I'm curious when they say that. They say he wore women's clothing, to hide his facial tattoos. Does that mean that he also had, there was a video of him to where he had, I think it was a Trump flag, or I'm not sure what flag it was. It was red, white, and bluish, but you couldn't tell, I don't think, whether it was the American flag or a Trump flag for sure. But there was a video to where he's got that wrapped around his head, and it's almost wrapped around his head in the way that different female religious would wear it. And I don't know what it's called. Kind of like I think you would call it kind of like a shawl thing or something. But anyway, not just on the shoulders, but around the head. I don't know what they call it. So anyway, he had it wearing it like that, and so my question is, did he have something like that on to try to conceal his face and his neck? I don't know. To my knowledge, they haven't released any pictures or anything like that of him as he was escaping. Because apparently, well, let me go ahead and read. It says here. Says Cremo allegedly used a ladder to climb onto a roof along the parade route and squeezed off 70 rounds into the crowd marching down the street before discarding the gun atop the building in order to avoid suspicion, according to authorities. His disguise, captured on video camera, may have included a wig, according to Covelli. So, I said the accused gunman, who had apparently spent weeks planning the attack, fled to his mother's house and took her car, eluding police for several hours before he was apprehended just 5 miles from the scene of the crime. The car reportedly contained another gun, while his apartment in the neighboring town of Highwood held more firearms, described as potentially pistols. The weapons were reportedly legally purchased. 6 of Cremo's victims died on Monday, with the 7th succumbing to their wounds on Tuesday. According to authorities, no motive for the crime has yet surfaced, though police have reportedly been in discussions with Cremo following his arrest. And that's the other thing I have a bit of an issue with. And nothing... Okay, so there are some media, including Tim Pool, that think that we shouldn't say these people's names, we shouldn't show their pictures because that they want attention with this. Well, let me ask you this. If this was about attention, don't you think he would have a clear motive to put out there for us? But he doesn't. I think some people are just incredibly mentally disturbed, and they act out in ways like this. Anybody that was paying the least bit of attention to this cat would have known that you might want to pay even a little more close attention to him. Now, if you want to part of the problem to fix this, I mean, because it's going to take more than one thing, but what you need is a fast track to execution. That's what you need. Now, let me say, I think that there should be some stipulations that have to be in place, like you have to be completely 100. There's no mistake that this person is guilty. Okay? And I think there needs to be a fast track for execution, and I think it needs to be public. And I think it needs to be ugly. And I know that might sound rough, but if you want to stop this, if you want to stop this, you truly make it to where somebody, the last damn thing that they would ever want to do would be to have to die like that because they went on some killing spree. I mean, it don't have to be a fire. You can get as imaginative and violent and whatever you want when you think of ways that the example could be made. What do they call that? A cat o' nine tails or whatever? Yeah, that would suck. Man, I think we need to quit playing with these people. Maybe if we quit playing with them, it might help. I don't know. Whatever we're doing now ain't doing a damn thing, that's for sure. Got states trying to get rid of the death penalty and everything else, and none of it makes sense. Make it make sense to me. Make it make sense to me. Tax dollars, right? Somebody commits an insane crime like this, and then tax dollars go to pay for them to live 3 hots and a cot, to go through as much school and education. I mean, insane. And yeah, they may never ever see the light of day again. That's absolutely true. They may never get out of prison again. But when you've got all your meals taken care of, you got your housing taken care of, you do get your time, however that is, you know. There are some things you don't even attempt to rehabilitate. Some things, some people, you don't even attempt to rehabilitate. Anyway, I'm going to get off of that. Probably not good for me to. That's just my thoughts. U.S. recession whispers becoming a roar, says Politico. The alarm over a looming recession growing louder in the U.S. as the government struggles to control soaring prices, Politico reported on Tuesday. From Wall Street to Washington, whispers about a coming economic slump have risen, if I can say it right, to nearly a roar, the publication writes, adding that the Federal Reserve's aggressive policy sent stocks tumbling to their worst performance in decades and plunged consumer confidence to record lows. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said last month that a recession was certainly a possibility and that the central bank wanted to get inflation back down to 2%. Powell's comments followed a hike in interest rates by 75 basis points, the biggest increase in 3 decades. Wall Street's benchmark for many stock funds, the S&P 500, reacted by losing 20% by the end of June in what's become in the worst half of the year for U.S. stocks since 1970. The inflation rate reached a 40-year high of 8.6% in May. According to Politico, the central bank's apparent willingness to tolerate an economic downturn if it helps bring inflation under control doesn't sit well with the American people. Critics cited by the publication claim the abrupt increases in borrowing costs will lead to a surge in layoffs and drive the economy off a cliff. Powell said last week that overall the U.S. economy is well positioned to withstand tighter monetary policy. According to Bloomberg, however, about a third of economists say a recession in the U.S. is likely in the next 2 years. The situation could be made worse by other factors, Politico says, such as the potential nosedive of housing prices or an escalation of the conflict in Ukraine, which could lead to further increases in oil and food prices. Yeah, that's that's another serious part of that whole issue. Hey, if a major conflict breaks out, I don't know, man. Here's the thing. Back during WW1 and WW2, they didn't have near the population that they do right now. And we didn't import nearly our daily needs that we do now. So when you take those factors into consideration, we have more people doing less of the work. So if our imports stop immediately, and there is mass rationing put on things like fuel and rubber and leather and all that stuff. I'm not sure leather would be one, but I'm sure there's many things that will be immediately rationed, especially if it's a major conflict, which it would be. Man, I'm telling you, there's a lot of people, and then you got the ripple effect of even what's already going on right now. The people that down the line, there's Amazon warehouses that they decided they're not going to open, or at least they're going to delay opening. If more closes. Same with other companies. If the other companies start closing up more and more locations, that's more and more people unemployed. But it's not just them unemployed. You have to look at the restaurants that they used to go eat at while they had employment, gainful employment, and liked to eat out a night or two a week. Well, now those places don't have the income either. And it just keeps going down the line. And we're in a really bad position. And the problem is we don't have anything more up in the front to pull us along. And I mean economically. We don't have the manufacturing. We don't have the industry in this country, at least not right now at present, to be able to pull us through this. So it's likely to get pretty ugly because of those factors, plus many more. But it doesn't look good. And that's what kind of frustrates me too when people do all the fear mongering and stuff is, we got some stuff we better be watching, but we don't need to be doing it in a manner, we don't need to be doing this in a manner that's got people all upset and panicked and maybe going out and doing or buying things that are mistakes because of that. No, we need to address this more calmly, more collectively, and more knowledgeably. Just my opinion. I mean, for one, we don't know exactly what we're going to be dealing with yet. German party chief predicts EU infighting over gas. So there could even be issues within the EU over the gas shortages that not only they're already experiencing, but I think going to experience even more of here soon enough. Well, and I'm talking about beyond the planned shutdown. It says here, European Union members could end up in disagreements over the distribution of gas amid looming shortages, the leader of Germany's Christian Democratic Union Party said on Monday. Friedrich Merz argued the German government should unveil a concrete set of policies in coordination with the EU after formally triggering the alarm stage of its emergency gas plan 2 weeks ago. For example, there will be significant conflicts over distribution within the EU, as it happened in 2015 and 2016 with the refugee crisis, Merz told the New Ansbrucker Zeitung newspaper, referring to the influx of asylum seekers from the Middle East to Africa, Middle East and Africa to Europe. Merz warned against making calls for an immediate end to Russian gas supplies. We should not create such scenarios through public statements. If Russia sticks to existing contract, the deliveries will resume after the maintenance work, he said. Russian giant Gazprom reduced gas flow via Nord Stream 1 Baltic Sea pipeline last month, citing planned repairs and the impact of sanctions. So, who knows where this is going to go, but I do think that there is a high possibility for infighting in the EU and in the UK even. I think things could get nasty, nasty. Again, you've got nations that started to rely on other nations too much. You know, I kept hearing presidents screaming about national security, but I didn't see many of them do a damn thing for national security. I think Trump did a few things, yeah, but since Trump, the only one that I know of that's actually done something significant to help the military was Reagan. I mean, kind of a little bit of a time span there, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, UK industry comments on gas rationing plan. It's already going to happen over there. Gas rationing, which could be introduced under the UK government's emergency plan, would lead to the closure of many factories, some of which would be unable to survive even 2 days, the energy-intensive users group warned, according to the Financial Times. Business Secretary Kwasi Kwarteng, something like that, is scheduled to discuss the details of the emergency plan with industry representatives later this week, according to an FT government source. The ministers do not anticipate gas rationing this winter. This measure, one official said, is provided for the extreme and hugely unlikely scenario in which Russia cuts off all gas supplies to Europe and Norway then cuts off supplies to Britain as well. The view is that in the current situation it is unlikely there will be gas shortages, but as we move into winter, things could change, Dave Dalton, chair of the Energy Intensive Users Group, which represents the UK's heaviest industrial energy users, said. Dalton, who is also CEO of British Glass, said the industry hopes for a bit more honesty from the government on the matters of gas rationing. Glass is one of the most exposed sectors as it is a continuous process that is heavily dependent on gas. We could only survive a matter of hours, maybe over a day, but it wouldn't be 2 days, Dalton explained, as quoted by FT. The British Ceramic Confederation also warned against any quick or short notice shutdown of gas supplies, saying it would be highly detrimental to the industry and therefore robust contingency plans are required. The Confederation previously expressed concerns over the soaring international energy prices as well as the government's policy of significant cap reductions on carbon emissions. So, again, this is just talking about all of the issues that's going to happen as a result. We're facing the same stuff here. We're not out of the water here yet when it comes to energy, and I think we're not going to hear about our deficits so much until the fall, and I think that then they're going to start kind of letting us know a little bit more. At least I don't know what's going on. It really all does seem like it's orchestrated, and so looking at it with that kind of a mindset, I figure they'll let us know in the fall that we have this massive energy shortage. And prices will skyrocket, and I have a feeling that's what we're looking at. And they've already been talking about it a little bit, but, I think they're really going to start driving it home soon enough. Let's see. Alrighty. Let me have a sip of coffee here. And a few vapes, Have to, way too much blood in my nicotine system. I gotta fix that. Germans forced to ration hot water, says media. A housing cooperative in the town of Dippoldiswald in Saxony is reducing the supply of hot water due to drastically increased energy prices, the German tabloid Bild reports, citing a landlord's letter to tenants sent on Monday. According to the notice, hot water will no longer be available for the 600 apartments of the cooperative around the clock, but only intermittently. Tenants will be able to take hot showers between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m., 11 a.m. and 1 p.m., 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. During the night and in between those times, cold water will run from the taps. It's not about annoying the tenants, but about adjusting to what we might not be able to pay for next year, board member Falk-Kuhn Meisengeier told the German press agency, adding that, I know I got that way wrong, I'm sure. We want tenants to get through the crisis well. Life is expensive enough as it is. Over the weekend, the environmental chief of the city of Hamburg reportedly warned that hot water may be rationed in the city in case of acute gas shortage. German Federation of Trade Unions head Yasmin Fahimi added a further warning that entire industries are in danger of permanently collapsing: aluminum, glass, the chemical industry, due to the Russian gas cuts. And I do believe that we are going to see that. So I really do. I think we're going to see a massive conflict over there. And I think that Germany, I think the EU and the UK, I think are both going to be put in really dire straits as a result of the conflict. I think we're going to take our licks too. We're going to take our licks in many, many, many ways, I believe. We might be able to fare a little bit better when it comes to shortages of fuel and stuff. We might be able to fare a little bit better when it comes to food shortages. But it's going to take a government and an industry that wants to do that. Right now, we got a lot of the opposite. So, okay. That earned me another sip. UK urged to brace for economic storm. The Bank of England warned on Tuesday that the economic prospects for Britain have deteriorated since the start of the year, calling on the country's lenders to set aside more capital to absorb shocks in the markets. The economic outlook for the UK and globally has deteriorated materially, and you heard that, and globally, the BOE said in its financial stability report. Prices of essential goods such as food and energy have risen sharply in the UK and globally, and the outlook for growth has worsened, it added, blaming the crisis on the conflict in Ukraine. According to the statement, the higher prices, weaker growth, and tighter financing conditions will make it harder for households and businesses to repay or refinance debt. Given this, we expect households and businesses to become more stretched over coming months. They will also be more vulnerable to further shocks, the central bank elaborated. You notice how what they are going through is identical, not only in the effect, but also in the timing of this? Interesting, isn't it? Despite a worsening cost of living crisis, the inflation heading towards double digits, the regulator expressed confidence that banks were resilient to debt vulnerabilities among households and businesses. It urged them to ramp up their capital buffer to 2%, meaning they need an additional $13.2 billion of cash. You give me $1 billion of that, and I would be set. You wouldn't have to. No, I'd be good. The outlook is subject to considerable uncertainty, and there are a number of downside risks that could be adversely affect or could adversely affect UK financial stability, the BOE said. Inflation in Britain is expected to climb to 11% later this year, and the central bank's base interest rate could increase to as high as 3% by the end of 2023, economists warn. And I would say you can expect the same thing here. And because, I mean, it's all connected for one. But, again, I think this is orchestrated. I think this is a planned takedown. And I think it's a takedown of most of the nations on the planet. And at the same time, and I think they're doing it to get the people to usher in this one world crap. The currency, the government, all of it. I think they're going to use war, they're going to use disease, famine, and they're going to get people to beg for an end to it. And they're going to have that nice, wrapped up package there. And you will own nothing and be happy. Well, or you'll be dead. One or the other. Russia warns West about fate of weapons sent to the Ukraine. Some of the weapons sent by the West to Ukraine have failed to reach their intended destination and may fuel conflict further afield, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu warned on Tuesday. Speaking at a ministry meeting, Shoigu said the collective West, in hopes of dragging out the conflict in Ukraine, continues large-scale arms supplies to the Kiev regime. More than 28,000 tons of military cargo have already been delivered to the country, the defense minister revealed. However, according to the Russian military's information, some of the foreign weapons supplied by the West to Ukraine are spreading throughout the Middle East region and also end up on the black market, Shoigu said. The minister's remarks came soon after an RT Russian investigation revealed that deliveries of lethal aid from the US, UK, and other NATO countries to Ukraine led to the appearance of dark web marketplaces where some of the weapons can be purchased. You don't say. Now I need that $1 billion. Let's see. The Ukrainian traders claim to offer not just small arms or body armor, but also sophisticated hardware such as Javelin and in-law anti-tank systems. Yeah, I need something like that. And Phoenix Ghost and Switchblade explosive drones. Why not? I like drones. However, it cannot be completely ruled out that sellers do not actually have the weapons in stock, as the RT investigators did not complete any purchases. Late last month, the G7 countries pledged to provide support to Ukraine in all possible forms for as long as it takes. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson and French President Emmanuel Macron stressed that their countries would continue to supply weapons to Kiev in order to strengthen their hand in both the war and any future negotiations. So there you have it. I really do think Russia's going to get tired of dealing with US and UK weapons. I really do. And German. It's crazy. Alright, got a couple more tabs and then we'll do headlines. Oh, man. Went for a fun flight earlier in the BAE Hawk T1A. I love that plane. It's so awesome. Yep, I was doing really good. I was flying around Miami. I normally don't fly around Miami, but I was flying around Miami and was doing really, really good until I got too hot dog and I knife edged a couple of buildings, and I recovered from the knife edge and everything was going good, and then it got a little too squirrely for me and I kind of lawn darted, so it was a fun flight. I love that plane just because of how, I mean, it seems like it's spot on. I mean, it's awesome. It's a pleasure to fly. Anyway, continuing on with the news, U.S. and Iran explain why nuclear talks are stalled. Nuclear, I don't care how you want to pronounce it. Negotiations to revive the 2015 nuclear deal have made no progress because Iran has introduced unrelated demands, U.S. Special Envoy Robert Malley said in an interview on Tuesday. Meanwhile, Tehran said it was only insisting on the full removal of the U.S. embargo and guarantees that Washington won't renege on the deal again as it did in 2018. Commenting on the indirect talks between the U.S. and Iran and Qatar, which ended at an impasse last week, Malley blamed Tehran in an interview with National Public Radio. They have included in Doha added demands that I think anyone looking at this would be viewed as having nothing to do with the nuclear deal, things that they've wanted in the past, he said. The discussion, what really needs to take place right now, is not so much between us and Iran, although we're prepared to have that, it's between Iran and itself. They need to come to a conclusion about whether they are now prepared to come back into compliance with the deal, Malley added. Iran has repeatedly insisted that the U.S. has it backwards and that Washington must return to the deal first, including lifting the snapback sanctions before Tehran can be expected to abide by its limitations. Talks could be constructive if the U.S. showed seriousness and flexibility, Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdalian has told his Omani counterpart, Saeed Vadir Abu Saidi, on Monday. I know I've got that way wrong. According to state news agency IRNA, Iran is demanding a verifiable mechanism for the full removal of U.S. sanctions and guarantees from Washington that it won't exit the deal again, Amir Abdalian added. I don't know if I'm getting anywhere near that or not, but that looks like it's really hard to say. The Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action was signed by Iran, the U.S., Russia, China, and the UK, France, and Germany in July 2015, and placed limitations on Tehran's civilian nuclear program so they could not reach military applications in exchange for sanctions relief. While the United Nations nuclear watchdog repeatedly confirmed that Tehran was keeping to the agreement for years after it was struck, then U.S. President Donald Trump unilaterally withdrew from the pact in May 2018 and reimposed all prior American sanctions. Iran has responded by gradually scaling back its own commitments under the JCPOA, insisting it will return to full compliance only after the U.S. penalties are dropped. And the crazy thing is that is one of the dumbass things that the United States did. Because we had everything copacetic. We had people over there keeping an eye on everything. We had cameras that were keeping an eye on things. We were keeping an eye on stuff. We were the ones that backed out of that. And we can't blame anybody else. We backed out of that. What befuddles my mind now is they're not going to back away. And right now, currently, they're pumping out nuclear weapons grade fuel. Right now. And they're continuing to pump it out. All the longer while the United States plays dumbass. So, it's not good. And I've been saying for some time now that they've already got nuclear weapons. I guarantee you, Iran. I said the same thing about North Korea, and turned out I was correct. I'm telling you, Iran has nuclear weapons, and they have had for some time. Right now, what they are doing is building up their stockpile. So, I don't know. I think it's a dumb move to be messing around. You know, we can't expect, I'm sorry, but we can't expect to be the world's policeman and be able to dictate to all these other sovereign, independent nations how they have to live. That is not going to work out so well. And I think we're going to find that out pretty quick. From the decades and the decades of that attitude. So anyway, one more. NASA loses touch with moon probe, and apparently, they don't expect to return contact until the probe reaches Uranus. So I don't know. No, that's not true. I had to throw that in there though. The probe testing an orbital approach for the Artemis moon probe. In fact, that's the only reason I put this whole damn story up there, so I could say that joke. I'm not even really interested in reading it. Just know that. NASA lost touch with the moon probe. But they're not going to get back contact until it reaches Uranus. So, hey, what can I say? I'm 2. Are you serious? I just got huffed by the dog. I'm gonna throw this toilet paper roll at you, child. Oh well. No respect from the dog. None. She's a trip. Alright. Let me run through these headlines and we'll sneak out of here and be done for the day. Let's see. Covered that. German banks prepare for energy-related defaults, says Bloomberg. Iran doubles oil discount for China, says media. Underwater drug drones are seized in Spain. Norway oil and gas output cut due to the strike. German party chief predicts... Oh, I covered that one. And that one. Finland and Sweden move closer to NATO membership. Oops. Bring back coal to fight Russia, says Poland. Dutch farmers block supermarket warehouses. U.S. hot dog eating king takes down protester on the way to his title. And then turned around and apologized. He apologized because he didn't do as good as he claimed he was going to do. So he said, don't worry, you'll get it next year. I don't have anything more as of yet. I mean, they pretty much scrubbed anything and everything that they can on this cat. So I don't have anything more than what anybody else would as of yet. So I'm still kind of waiting. I think they're going to be making claims about him in the next day or two. I think there'll be something that they claim that's going to be a motive or some reason why he decided, to do this. So I'm kind of waiting to see what they have to say. I'm not necessarily expecting them to be truthful. I don't know. I have no idea. But a lot of times this stuff is just really weird how they handle it. And the whole process of them handling it, to me, is just suspicious. So, again, we don't even know what the weapon was yet. I mean, that's kind of crazy. How come we can only be told that it was an AR-15-like weapon? That is absurd to me. Why? And the only thing I can think... Thought I dropped something. The only thing that I can think is that there might be an inkling of uncertainty that they actually got this guy. Now, I don't know, because I don't know what type of evidence they have. I don't know. I have no idea. But there is one thing that's still stuck up here in this head of mine, and it won't go anywhere, and I appreciate that, and that's that one man's report on multiple news outlets that he was there. He was there. And that he saw the shooter. I could take you on Google Maps and I could show you the stop sign and lamp post that this guy was talking about. that he claims he personally saw the shooter in a crouching position firing shots. Now, this person said this on multiple news outlets. That's what I want to know. I want to know more about that. But I'm sure we won't hear another word about that. But yeah, it's kind of surreal. Anyway. Oh. Yeah, the hot dog eating king taking down the protester. Don't mess with this dude when he's... Okay, here you go. He just like slams him. Get on. Trying to eat hot dogs here. Anyway. Like I say, he apologized for not eating as many as what he claimed he was going to eat. Record drop in Russian gas supply to the EU predicted. Covered that. A number of mercenaries recently killed in Ukraine is revealed. U.S. veterans train Ukrainian soldiers despite warnings, says the New York Times. UK reveals stance on Black Sea's warship deployment. Kremlin comments on possible NATO base in Finland. Covered that one. Authorities respond to claims Eiffel Tower in dismal state. EU power prices hit an all-time high, says FT. White Sox cancel fireworks after July 4th shooting spree. A passenger jet flies for 14 hours with a huge hole. Well, I mean, our country's ran since the last, inauguration with a huge hole. So, I mean, I guess it's possible. Moscow snubs UK embassy. Energy crunch pushing European gas prices higher. UK mulls crackdown on social media. Eco-activists target 500-year-old painting. Bunch of idiots. It was a copy of The Last Supper, and they glued themselves to it. Zelensky makes claim about Russian military plans for Europe. A study compares alcohol effects on males and females. I can tell you that. Moscow responds to Japan's threat to cap Russian oil prices. Surgery can't make you a woman. Multiple celebrities in trans row say. Bette Midler being one of them. A fake Canadian-Ukrainian volunteer account causes major stir. Russia's space chief speaks out on nationalization. Ukraine outlaws pro-Russian party. UK urged to brace for economic storm. I don't know if I did that one or is another one. Japan calls out Russia over LNG. Top British cabinet members resign. NATO country eyes U-turn on mandatory military service. Former Austrian FM faces death threats over Russia ties. Ukrainian shelling kills 10-year-old girl. Let's see. Biden administration sues U.S. state. Russia will reach its goals in Ukraine despite Western weapons, says a top security official. Let's see. Independence Day. Oh, I covered that one. African country eyes gold currency. And lastly, Soros reveals how to save U.S. democracy, because that's who we want leading our path to democracy. I don't want democracy. I want our constitutional republic back, please. Anyway, I am gonna boogie on out of here and relax the rest of the evening. I don't know. I gotta make tea. Might even warm me up some more chili. So beware those who sleep with me. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. God willing, I will be back tomorrow if I don't get murdered in bed tonight. But, if I do, not saying it was Jen or anything, but it was her. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I won't be back tomorrow. I'll be dead. So anyway, come to my funeral, and I would appreciate it. No, we'll see you tomorrow. I hope you have a good night. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit, and shalom.